30th of August to correct the non-compliance. Furthermore, on the 31st of August, parties will be notified of candidates who may be appearing on multiple party lists. Parties may choose to remove such candidates and reorder the lists by the 2nd of September. The final list of candidates will be certified and published on 7th September 2021. This date will mark the conclusion point of the candidate nomination process, and the ballot paper production process will then be able to commence. Certified candidates will be issued with certificates on the 13th of September. Lastly, we experienced protest here at Election House by members of a political party yesterday. We wish to indicate that the Commission is not entrusted responsibility to mediate internal party disputes. Parties are urged to set up processes to manage internal disputes. The Commission thus condemns protest action directed at it in circumstances where it has no lawful role to play in the internecine party conflicts. We thank you.
CEO, thank you very much. I'm going to open the floor for questions. After we open the floor, we check with Charlene if there are any questions from our virtual journalists that have joined us virtually. Let me do so. Let's start with you, Mbadi.
You say that the system closed at 21 hours, 34 minutes. What attributed to that problem? Why did it only close at 9:30 last night when it was expected to close at 9 o'clock? These 74 candidates who have been affected by this, can you disclose who are they or which parties they are from? Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. It's Natasha Perry here from SABC News. I think I'm covered with the political party that was protesting outside. But I mean, just as a follow-up, what interactions did you have with the said political party? I know the ANC's DSG also addressed the matter, but were there any engagements between you and the ANC about the protests outside? As a follow-up to Mbadi's question as to the extension from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., there are certain political parties that have cast aspersions that because a certain political party was scrambling to get their candidates or their nominations in time, the IEC then extended the time. So I think mine is just to ask, were there consultations with political parties before the extension of 9 p.m.? We've seen tweets from leaders like Julius Malema saying that the system or the IEC actually manipulated the process. Yeah, thank you. I think I'm covered for now.
Thank you very much. Yes, you may respond to the questions.
Okay. The Y2134, you see the system, the online application system, candidate nomination system, is hosted on the website. Now, when you close, it means the data that is in the process of transfer from the public website into the candidate nomination system, which is an internal system, it will block that data transfer, even when it may have been submitted on time. So in that period, the idea was to allow for that data transfer to be complete, and once completed, then to log. But as we indicated, the legal position is that only candidates which were captured by 2100 hours will be taken as duly submitted. And any other candidates who were captured after 2100 hours will not be accepted, and there's 74 of them. There are 4 parties affected by that phenomenon. I don't have their names, but it's 4 political parties that were affected by that number of 74. Yes, indeed. When when people came to protest and they indicated that it's about the ANC's internal candidate selection procedures, we got in touch with the PLC representatives of the ANC to say this is really unacceptable. The IEC is not mandated to deal with internal party matters, and we're calling on the ANC to resolve its own internal party issues. And that's the basis on which engagement with the IEC was handled. The extension to 2100 yesterday, last week, a few leaders of political parties approached me to say that they had already indicated at the meeting of the National Party Liaison Committee on the 2nd that the election timetable is tight and that they were not going to be able to comfortably complete the candidate selection process. So they requested that I bring to the attention of the Commission the necessity to extend the period for the submission of candidate nomination. And the Commission had a consultation process to look at that, but could not accede to extending by a few days. They could only accommodate parties by extending with 4 hours. Now, and the 4 hours was to the benefit of all parties, not just the one party as has been postulated. That's not the point. The point is the 4 hours was granted to all parties and not directed at any one party. Was the consultation not formal in terms of a PLC process, but certainly at least 3 leaders of parties had made contact with me about the possibility of extension.
Thank you very much, Charlene and Dumi. If you don't have questions on the virtual, okay, you've got one.
Okay, I have 2 questions from our online journalists. First question is, which are the 2 parties that are contesting all municipalities? The second question, if your Concord ruling is not successful, will you be able to work and deliver the election under the current strenuous deadlines?
Thank you so much, Tisio. We appreciate. Any other questions? Let me take Mbadi and Natasha, and then we'll see if there are any other more questions. Thank you very much.
My question is talking about this extension once more from yesterday, the deadline being pushed from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Even though you tried to meet parties halfway and extended by 4 hours, were there parties who still asked for a further extension, maybe for like an extra day, to have their party lists compiled? Because we know that a lot of them were saying that they were under pressure, especially because of this issue around the Concord issue. Are you also able to share, if there were parties, which parties were these asking for even a further extension beyond the 4 hours?
Thank you.
Mine is just related to the constitutional courts. I know you can't speak on behalf of the apex courts, but when is the IEC expecting an outcome from the constitutional court? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to allow the CEO to deal with the 2 questions from the virtual platform, and then deal with the second 2 from the journalists present here. CEO.
Yes, let's start off with the deadlines that are strenuous. The Commission approached the Concord precisely because it recognizes that there isn't enough time, especially for other role players, such as political parties, to undertake all the activities that they need to undertake to prepare for an election. On its part, and I think we've said this a number of times, the Commission will technically be in a position to prepare an election. In other words, the Commission will be in a position to secure voting stations, to print ballot papers, to train staff, and to provide for all other requisite logistical material. So that we will do. But that does not mean that an election will then meet the constitutional standard of freeness and fairness. But for its part, the Commission will meet its deadline should we not be successful in the Constitutional Court. The issue of the has there been any further extension? Look, last night towards 2100 hours, there was a flurry of activity with most parties indicating that they need more time. They've not had a time to work the system and so on and so on. That's the reality. Indeed, in that context, we received many requests for a further extension. And regrettably, we are unable to accede to that request, even as late as this morning. There are further requests formally made to the Commission to consider an additional 2 days at least to allow for corrections to be made to lists and for supplementation to happen and so on. So the Commission will look at that and make a call. But if the election date of the 27th is to be realized, then the scope for the Commission to play around is quite limited. When do we expect the Concord to issue judgment? In our papers, we had requested the Concord to look at a time not beyond the 31st of August. We obviously can't impose to them, and they'll deal with the matter, and the acting Chief Justice did indicate that they will not take any day longer than is necessary in delivering that judgment. So we are hopeful that in the not too distant future, the outcome will be availed. Which parties are contesting all municipalities in the country? Let me first say the following, that in terms of the election timetable, the final list of candidates will be issued, will be certified and issued on the 7th of September. So at that point, the Commission will be in a position to disclose formally who the contestants are by way of party, as well as by way of candidates. So I think it would be premature, therefore, of us at this point to give an indication of which two parties will be contesting all municipalities in the country.
Thank you very much. DCO, further questions from your side?
Yes, quite a few. The first one, CEO, please explain the qualification on the criminal record or disqualification on the basis of a criminal record. The second one, if you are successful at the Constitutional Court, will you restart the process? And in that, will you allow political parties to amend their party list and their submissions? The next question is, if not successful at the Constitutional Court, will you allow voter registration before the 27th October? The last one, there was a report on the IEC not having funds for PPE. What is the situation with that? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And close the screen for me. Thank you very much. Whilst the CEO is taking questions, answering questions, can we please close the dialogue screen, please? Thank you very much. Thank you, CEO.
Shall we go?
Yes, Ndate, please.
All right. The criminal record, it's a constitutional qualification to hold a seat in council. And it provides that no person who's been convicted to a term of imprisonment for more than 24 months without an option of a fine may hold a seat in council. So it's not necessarily related to candidature, but it's related to ability to hold a seat in council. Of course, the two have a relationship. But I think we need to distinguish that nuance. So if you are convicted to more than 24 months prison or a term of imprisonment without an option of a fine, then you may not hold a seat in a municipal council. And where you've served the term, 5 years ought to have passed before you may hold a seat. If we are successful in the Concord, indeed, we will have to republish a new election timetable. And in terms of that election timetable, there would have to be a new candidate nomination closing date, together with other processes that underget the election timetable. Will there be a registration weekend before the 27th of October? It is not possible to have a registration weekend before the 27th of October. If we have to proceed on the 27th, then it will be on the basis of the voters' roll as it stood on the 3rd of August when the minister proclaimed the election date. Funds for PPE. We indicated that we are not funded for PPE for the election, but we are funded for PPE for the registration weekend. And in fact, I can confirm that that PPE is on hand. It's within our warehousing facility for the registration weekend. In respect of PPE for the elections, I can confirm that we have made a submission to National Treasury in terms of the the adjustment appropriation budget, and we are awaiting consideration thereof by the relevant officers at Treasury.
Thank you so much, CEO. Looks like we've covered all the questions, both for journalists who are in the house with us, as well as journalists who are online. Thank you once more for joining us. As the elections calendar proceeds, then we'll keep on updating the nation. On behalf of the Electoral Commission, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Press briefing has been adjourned. This is doing one-on-one.
Can you help with the one-on-one?
I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the big issue is this extension
Okay,
4
beautiful.
hours
and the 34 minutes.
You
Yes.
start.
I think the protest is not enough.
Okay, yes.
So either or it's fine.
Okay, Mbali, I start the hour now.
What time?
You have first one, eh?
Yeah.
What do you want us to do? Are you taking the CEO now? I know ENCA is here.
Yes. Okay, hi, Amara Boraway. We're going to find you very soon. Why? When I was something, okay, I was following you online downstairs.
Next Tuesday, on the 31st.
Can we do it on
Wednesday. That's right. But for us,
Okay,